This is a training session to show you how you can use ContractProbe to respond to incoming documents prepared by another party more quickly. First step is to go to the ContractProbe site, enter in your login code, and you will then be presented with the upload screen, which I'm showing on the page at present. Navigate to where the document that you want to review is stored. In this case, I'm going to upload a document that has been prepared by a customer for the supply of goods and services, and I'm going to review it from the point of view of a supplier. So I go to the drop-down menu and I look at the options that are available to me on the drop-down menu for review of documents, and we can see here the first two entries are supply agreements, either reviewed for the customer or reviewed for the supplier. Services agreements are similar to supply agreements, but they just involve the supply of services. They don't involve the supply of goods as well. Shareholders agreements are agreements for people who are parties to a company under a shareholders agreement and determining their rights under that document. Tailored review is for people who have entered into a special arrangement with ContractProbe to have documents reviewed according to their own specific rules. Non-disclosure agreements are next, either for recipient disclosure or mutual. Software license agreements, and these are only reviewed from the customer's point of view, because suppliers tend to draft these documents, so customers are the ones responding to them. Intellectual property licenses are next. Consultancy agreements are effectively for when you want to review a document where an individual is being engaged to provide goods and services as a consultant to you. So it's not a general services agreement that's covered above, but more designed for the case of an individual providing services to a company. Other will review any type of document, but it will just review it for generic errors which are common across all documents, such as missing choice of law clauses, undefined terms, and so on. And finally, a new addition to ContractProbe is the ability to convert a document which has been received, which has got comments and changes marked up by another party, and convert those track changes into a table. And that can be useful if you are trying to circulate a document internally within a company for documents from comments from various stakeholders, because you can then collect their comments in a tabular format rather than doing markup or comments upon comments, which gets messy very quickly. This document, though, is a supply agreement, and it's been prepared by the customer, so we're going to review it from the point of view of the supplier. So I now press Analyze Contract to upload the document and get it reviewed. And it is now being uploaded to our site in Sydney. So the document is being processed on Amazon Web Services security installation in Sydney and never leaves Australian shores, and it can be useful for issues such as compliance with Australian privacy laws and the like. Once the document has been uploaded and processed, you receive a results screen, and there's a few things that you can look at on this screen. The first is that there is a score which gives you a rough idea as to just how favourable or unfavourable this document is from your point of view. In this case, a score of 3 out of 10 indicates that it is quite unfavourable from the point of view of the supplier, which is not surprising given that it was prepared by the customer. We then look at the issues which are covered by the agreement over here, and we can press there, and that will tell you very quickly some important issues and where they're covered on the agreement. So that's just a useful summary of the types of things that the agreement covers. So for example, there's a clause dealing with renewal. If you click on the Issues tab, then you get taken straight away to that clause, and that can be relevant if you're trying to work out for yourself how the agreement covers things. Perhaps of most important, though, when you are reviewing a document to respond to another party, is the risk issues. And so these are defined here as high risk, medium risk, and low risk issues. So you can click on these tabs and you can then decide which issues you want to pursue and raise with the other party. Now, you have two choices here. You can, if you like, start with all of the issues included and then just take off the issues that you don't want to pursue with the other party, and that is what I'm illustrating here. So you can press remove from report, and that will then indicate that you don't want to review that particular issue with the other party, and so it will be taken off the table for this particular review. Alternatively, if you are in a situation where you only want to make marginal and few comments to the other party, for example, if you're in a tender situation and only want to raise the barest minimum points, what you can do instead is to press this button in the middle that I'm indicating with the cursor now, remove all points from the report. If you do that, then what happens is that all the points are taken off the table, and you then just go through one by one and specify those few points that you wish to add to the report by pressing add to the report like this here. I'm going to, though, work on the basis that what you will most likely do is to want to pursue all points with the other party, and so I'm going to leave it from a point of view that you take off points that you don't want to pursue. Looking at the issues that have been raised here under the high risk issue, there are some pretty serious points that you may want to pursue with the other party. There's no exclusion of loss, a consequential loss clause. There's no cap on liability for breach of the contract, and both of these are extremely important issues. There is a force majeure clause in the document, and I've pressed on it here, and that indicates what the force majeure clause is in the document at present, but it doesn't cover pandemics, which, in light of our recent experiences throughout the world on the effect of COVID on the supply agreements, that's an important omission which you'd like to raise. And then the final high risk issue is there is an obligation on the supplier here to always have to supply goods on the best possible price, and that is something that suppliers are often reluctant to grant to a particular customer, because it means that if they were ever to grant another customer a better price, then they may have to go back to all their previous customers who've got such a clause in the document and lower their price for those other customers. So these are all quite serious issues that you would probably like to raise. But if in a particular case you don't want to raise a particular point for the circumstances of the deal, you can just remove it from the report. So let's say that we wish to don't pursue the pandemics point here. We can press remove from report, and that will then not be included in the report. Where issues have been found where something is missing, so there was no exclusion or consequential loss clause, you get more information about the consequences of that clause being missing by clicking once on the tab. And so you can see here that there is an explanation as to why a consequential loss clause may be important and why you might in fact want to add one to the contract. Should you wish to add one to the contract, then you can press again, and some default template wording is now provided to you by ContractProbe. Now, if you have entered into arrangement with ContractProbe for the use of your own template wording, then that wording will be given at this point. What ContractProbe does out of the box, so for people who haven't entered into such an arrangement, is to provide you with some template wording for missing clauses that you can then adapt to your own particular circumstances, taking into account your commercial imperatives on a particular deal. And so that is a document that is the wording that is being provided here. So they're the high risk issues. You can then look at the medium risk issues and do the same thing. You look at the medium risk issues, read through each of the medium risk issues, remove from the report the ones that you don't want to pursue. You can see that they're being indicated as being removed, and eventually get to the point where only those issues that you want to pursue remain to be raised with the other party. If you would just want to raise the barest minimum points, then once again you can remove all points from the report, and then you will only have in the report those that you've specifically indicated that you want to add to the report. So let's have a look at these reports and the various ways in which ContractProbe packages up the results of its analysis and the decisions that you have made as to what points you wish to pursue by going to the Get Reports button. So I've chosen that over here, and you can see that there are a variety of reports available to you. The first taking them in order, and then I'll drill down on the ones which are most likely to be relevant to you. The first is that the report can be provided to you in PDF format, so that all the information that ContractProbe has prepared for you and presented on the screen can be given to you in PDF format, so you can download it and have a permanent copy of the report for future reference when people find that useful for archival purposes and other reasons. Similarly, you can get the report in Word format by clicking on this tab, and it will be downloaded to you in Word format, and that will then be something that you can take the report and edit as a normal Word document on your screen, but it is again still the report, just packaged up in a different format. The output reports which are perhaps most useful for people when replying to another party's documents are either the departures table formats or the markups. So let's look at those now. So in the departures table format, you have a choice of getting a departures table either in Word or in Excel format. Let's download that in Word format. So I press on download report in Word format. It has now been downloaded onto my screen. I'm now going to open the document up. And what you can see here is that the results of the review have been packaged together, but put together in such a format that it can be conveniently presented to the other party as your statement of requested changes to the document. And so that can be quite useful when you're trying to communicate with the other party in a convenient way as to what changes you want to make to the report. Now, this document is just a standard Word document. It's now been downloaded onto your system, and so if you wish to change the wording as to how a particular requested change is communicated, you're free to do that. It's just a standard Word document. Equally, if you decided that you didn't want to pursue a particular point, you can do that as well. So let's say that in this case there's a right for the customer, Sealy, to be able to terminate a contract for convenience. And let's say that you have decided that you don't want to pursue that point. You're happy for the customer to have that right to communicate the document for convenience. So what you can do is delete cells, normal Word format, and delete that entire row. Click there, and the change has been made. So by working your way through the departures table format, you can quickly end up with a result that is in a format that you can communicate to the other party. And again, the way in which the requests are expressed to the other party can be changed to suit your particular circumstances. So if you've entered into an arrangement with ContractProbe for particular wording to be used, or particular default text to be given, or a particular formula for wording in template format, then that will appear in this format. And so that allows you to ensure consistency across your organisation for the way in which you express your requested changes to the other party. Let's move to another format of the report. I won't save that because it's just for demonstration purposes. And let's look at the markup. And so there's two formats of markup here. You can either have the markup given to you in a format where all the changes are presented in track changes format, together with comments put into the document. Alternatively, you can just download the markup with just the requested changes made, and that's often the most convenient way to communicate the changes to the other party. So I'm going to use that purpose here. So I click on download markup, clauses only, and what has happened now is that the document which was uploaded previously has now been marked up by ContractProbe together with the change to show the changes that you might want to make. So let's go down and let's look at some of these changes. And what ContractProbe will do is that it will delete clauses that it thought were undesirable as per the report given earlier, and here it has deleted the most favoured pricing change, and that clause is gone. And it will also put into the document clauses that are missing, and again this is just ContractProbe standard template wording here. If you've got particular wording you'd prefer to use, then the ContractProbe can be tailored to give that wording in instead. And so here, the missing warranty as to capacity to enter into the agreement has been added to the document because that wasn't there before. And let's go through and look at some of the other things that have been added. So there was a warranty previously that there was not going to be any defects in design or parts. That warranty has been deleted. Going down, the indemnity has been deleted, and in place of the indemnity, the exclusion of consequential loss clause has been added, and equally the cap on liability clause that was missing previously has been added as well. On the cap on liability clause, obviously the cap that you will be prepared to accept in a particular deal depends on a lot of conditions, including obviously the size of the deal and your own commercial risk profile. So you'll see here that ContractProbe has added in the template wording, but you have there, it has then left the space for you to insert the actual cap on liability. So if you wanted to put in a cap on liability of say $1 million, then this is just a standard Word document. You can easily do that. So there is our cap on liability now being added. These are all at this stage included in the document in track changes format. So you go through, you can accept the change, and there you have the clause in the format that the document is using generally, so it's generally in the same font, and the clause generally will be put into a position in the document that is a sensible position for that type of clause to be included. I'll just finish off this demonstration by quickly looking at the other way in which you can get the markup provided to you, and this is with the comments included, and this can be useful when you are working through a document yourself. You're not yet at a position where you're ready to finalise the document, but you are looking at what ContractProbe has given, and you are trying to take those comments into account as you do your job of reading through the document. So you can see here that the comments that ContractProbe had made with respect to the things that the document does contain or problems with the document have now all been included in the comments field on the document. You would probably not want to send those comments to the other party, so this might be a case where, having read through the marked up document with the comments, you then go back to the other format which I showed you before, which has got just the changes made in the document. But this format, which has got the commentary as well, can be a useful way when you are reviewing a document for the first time to go through the document, look at the changes that ContractProbe has suggested, and look in the context of the document as well as the comments that ContractProbe has made to the document. Thank you for your attention and attending to this demonstration.